I'm live. Had a little problem with my web there. If you're joining me live, if you're not, hey, what's up? It is Saturday morning, just me and my dog hanging out. Man, I enjoyed the UFC last night. I just enjoyed that show. I enjoyed those fights. There was so much cool stuff going on. A bit of a time crunch, so I'm going to talk about like my favorite stuff, the stuff I found the most interesting. OSP's choke, Flue choke. The way he set it up was so cool. Just that's the poetry of how martial arts happens. It was amazing. And then Gokhan Saki. That was art. That was music. That was just fucking so good. I love the way Kim finished Gomi quickly. Maybe you saw, I chatted with Paulie Malignaggi. It's something we talk about a lot around these parts. A lot of the things that we treat as true in the martial arts is untrue. Oh, you got to keep that front foot outside against the southpaw. Kim sliding the wrong way to his right, getting Gomi to chase. Gomi's feet, instead of being in the right spot, just got Gomi lined up, and he got to that open side and just darted in with it. It was sudden. Hey guys, it was sudden, and it was counterintuitive to the way that you're taught when you're a beginner. You know, when Bisping got knocked out by Dan Henderson, they kept saying he's moving towards the power hand, moving toward. Oh, you can't move towards the power hand. Of course you can. Overeem does it almost all fight, every fight. Kim takes out Gomi with that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. If you go back and watch it, he draws him open, gets a different angle on the open side, and just blasts him with the straight right hand. Beautiful stuff. Formiga also, maybe I'll talk about that when we talk about Gokan Saki, because there are levels. It's one of the amazing things that's still there with fighting, and I think it will be for quite some time, because of how rapidly fighting changes. I know football changes, I know baseball changes, but baseball after 150 years will change a little less. There'll be some things that get stable. Hey David, great meeting you in Vegas too, brother. That become stable, but fighting is still very unstable. It's still very much changing. It's still very misunderstood. Like the global understanding of the martial arts is still really early. The more you learn about it, the more you see about how these coaches and those upper minds and best fighters are changing and understanding, the more you realize how little we know as a human race about the potentialities of fighting. And that's why some of these fights are amazing. Because of that, you can still have a scenario where like Formiga on your back is so advanced, so far down his evolutionary path that it's really hard to stop him. You just see when somebody's so skilled in an area like that and continually improving as they get better. Beautiful stuff. But that brings me to Gokan Saki, which was, you know, the best part of the night for me. Just so amazing. Whenever you get these guys who come in with a different line of thinking, that's where new exciting things happen, right? Obviously, he's a far better at kickboxing and punching, kicking, elbowing, striking, you know, dealing with standing in space and fighting than his opponent De Silva and everybody he's going to face. But the meaning of everything changes now, right? The meaning of the space between you is different. So Gokan Saki, when he is able to sit down and throw, he's doing it. The first thing you notice is how advanced again he is. There's a natural human rhythm that happens when people fight. If you and your friend decide to fight and you haven't fought a lot, he'll punch you and you'll punch him and he'll punch you and you'll cover up a little bit. It's a reckless rhythm that then becomes sort of a little more rhythmic as you become a novice fighter. And then to the point that at a certain point we've all seen it. You land in certain ways at certain times. There's a push and a pull. I cover, I throw. You can feel that rhythm when you see, you know, mid-level fighters, right? You can feel it. Look for it next time you watch. Guys at the mid-level of their evolution, there's a rhythm. They know it. They fall into it. When two men or two women fight, it kind of exists. And one day, when people have become sort of black belts of that level, they're black belts of that level, you know, theoretical black belt, One day they pass to a different phase where they hear and feel the rhythm differently, and they can set the rhythm. And I'm going to try to see if we can understand this idea. If 1, 2, 3, 4, you can imagine that I have 4 hands, or I was going to hold up a prop, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and you start to fight that way. That's quite normal. Then, if you imagine those spots are where I'm striking, the space is in between them. You're covering up here or protecting yourself, and you punch here, and you cover up here, and you punch here. Very normal. That's what happens in the early stages of people fighting. But then for Gokan Saki, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So he has so many more spaces to work with. He has so many more gaps, rhythms. He understands all of these. So instead of him dealing with this is a strike, and this is a strike, and this is one, and this is one, he can put one here and one there and half of one, and then there's just more mental space to work with, right? So you're watching Gokhan Saki in there, and he's striking in places where Da Silva doesn't really understand it. He's not used to that type of rhythm, and Saki's able to play with it very naturally. Also, something else you notice, if you go and you train at any point with somebody better than you, any stage, you're brand new and he's been training for 8 months, there are points where things are happening that you don't quite understand, and your only option really is to cover up. Anybody who's ever sparred on a low, mid, high level has dealt with points where the other guy understands something. You find yourself lost. Very common. Everybody who's ever sparred has experienced this. And the less you've trained, the more you experience this. Something is happening and I cover up. Early stages of it, I move straight backwards, covering up. And then somebody better than me is like, oh shit, baff, to the other sides, kick my legs. It's very simple. Then you get better, and that doesn't happen anymore. But Da Silva, who never has that experience against Gokhan Saki, would have had that experience a ton in that fight. And you see it. Something's happening, not quite sure, better shell out. Fuck, you're going to fight Gokhan Saki, and you're going to fight against him, and you have to cover up at points. He's just specific, has these understanding of the little space here, the little space right here. He can do it like nothing. So that's just absolutely beautiful to watch. Beautiful to watch. Early on, Saki switches back. It's very simple for him. Right? He's been doing this for 20 years. Switches back to southpaw, throws a left head kick. As it lands, darts in with the straight left hand. Dropped Da Silva in the first minute or two. So you're seeing all this beautiful, beautiful stuff. Right? Somebody asked what was my favorite fight. That was my favorite performance, Gokan Saki. So beautiful. It's just like, it's art, it's poetry, it's music, it's fucking unreal. So that's where a guy like that will be dominant. Da Silva is a guy who likes to punch and kick and strike, and has not evolved with the level of understanding and control of himself and his opponent that Saki has. So you're going to be able to see that. Where do we see Saki's expected weaknesses that you have to deal with in the future? And so when Da Silva would come in, you would see that his idea, how he wrestles, is how you wrestle when you're an MMA fighter in a pretty good gym, and you go in and you get a hold of a guy and you drag him down. You come in, and it was all coming into the upper body. Perfect for Saki, because to him, the way he would be learning wrestling from the ground up is, I gotta fight for an underhook, and I gotta get my hips back, right? Super fundamental stuff. That you do that against George St. Pierre or somebody of a high level, they switch to the second, they switch to the third, they switch to the fourth, you're on your back, right? But against Da Silva, we were in a good position if you were Saki in his team, where he's up here, take underhooks and drive my hips back. So he was able to do that excellently. When somebody comes in and joins his arms around his legs and locks his legs up, it's going to be a whole different thing. And you can see where the concern would be in the future. It's like, great, we stop guys from taking, he can't get taken down. Well, you will get taken down one day. The next guy or the guy after, you'll keep getting better at it, but you'll get taken down. And how does your brain, who's new to this game or newer to this aspect of the game, understand even the choice between when to stand up and when to play that blue belt level jiu-jitsu that you're just starting to love doing in the gym when nobody punches you in the face. So that's the challenges he's got ahead of him. But it was also super interesting to me when Da Silva was able to knee him a ton of times. Now, in a kickboxing match with knees or a Muay Thai fight, Da Silva would have never been able to knee him. But why could he knee Gokhan Saki in that space? So, much like in the outside, where Saki has so much more experience and skill, in the clinch, in the Thai clinch, he also does. So why would he get lit up there? It's because the meaning of that range has changed for him now. He's been training to not be quite as concerned with the knees, which is why Da Silva's going there was so smart. He's been trained to see that when a guy gets his hands on you, so imagine these are around your neck, this now means to Gokhan Saki, shit, I gotta snap into don't let him take me down mode. And that's new to him, right? It's new to him. So, snap into don't take me down mode and override a lifetime of deal with his knees and elbows. Fucking cool. What you got to see was, you know, the surface thing is he's a way better striker because he has a lifetime of it. If he can defend the takedown, he'll be able to light him up. All true. But there's so many other little layers in there. Now, his interpretation of what it means for someone to grab the back of his head or his body or his collar tie has changed. That used to be a threat. Now I'll deal with controlling him. I'll take him off balance. I'll use my lifetime of playing in the clinch to deal with him here. But now that clinch now means, shit, he might take me down. So Gokan Saki has to allot mental resources to, shit, he might take me down. Boom, he gets kneed in the face. So cool shit. Like cool stuff. Because what you're watching is how his mind has to change its interpretation of the martial arts. So he's getting kneed in the face by somebody who's not as good a kickboxer as him because the environment changed and the meaning changed. Fucking cool. Then he gets lit up a little bit at the end. The knees, he's kind of wobbled, right? Bah, bah. I think actually the left hook is what finished him. What's happening right there that was so cool is he's hurt. But a lifetime, literal lifetime of being able to fight, well, hurt, dinged, or whatever, he actually stopped thinking. You know, you get fucking rocked, what do? Well, sometimes you cover up. What he's been trained himself to do and has been trained to do in the environment he's fought in is fucking let it rip. You get dinged, that means he's throwing. That means the other guy's throwing. And if he's throwing, that means he's leaning into it and I'm going to shut him off. That's what he did. But the best moment of that fight for him, of course the finish, is when he's not thinking anymore. Because if neither of us are thinking and my instincts are forged in a lifetime of doing the thing that makes me win, I'm going to win. Fucking amazing. I watched that fight last night and 2 more times this morning, and I'm going to watch it a couple more because it's just the level of skill that you're looking at, but also the challenge is new to him and it's going to excite him. But watching Gokan Saki attempt to navigate this path is going to be really neat. I know he's a little older, he's really fought a lot, so we won't be able to see it for that long. But these are the cool experiments that we're seeing. It's why it was so interesting to see a guy who doesn't box try to figure out how to beat the world's greatest boxer, because it's weird, right? It's strange. We're fucking changing the equation. We're changing the challenge. We're repositioning the entire way you have to look at it. And one thing people often don't understand, and it's our job to try to dig it so we do understand, is the idea, and it's a very simple analogy that I have, in my mind, seen for half a decade to a decade. Those acrobats spinning those plates. You know those Chinese acrobats, and they've got sticks. They got like 8 sticks. They got 1 on their chin and 1 on their forehead and 2 on their shoulders, and they're spinning all those plates. That is such, look one of those up on the internet. What's really happening? It's a form of hyper-focused multitasking. And of course, it's also performance. Like, oh no, this one might go, spin that one. Oh shit, that one might go. So they're also adding to performance, which is what fighting is, right? But psychologically speaking, Saki normally deals with this weapon and this weapon. This potentially, depending on the rule set he's dealing with. This thing, this knee, this, in the clinch, when this is the problem. But there's new plates now. That clinch means he has to deal with all of these other things that he hasn't spent a lifetime dealing with. So that, to me, as much as watching the beauty and the elegance of this man's skill in that environment was so cool, watching him have to sort of reprioritize the threats That is what's going to be amazing about watching this guy fight. And I feel very lucky we get to see guys like this fighting in free fighting right now, you know, because my big concern and my big worry as a fan, as the biggest fight fan, is if people start watching fighting less because it all kind of seems the same. You know, with that, two guys, I was talking about this week. This guy will come out and will put the thing on, and he'll hug his coach, and then he'll go in, and then Bruce will say this thing, and then they'll punch a bit. One guy will go down. If people start seeing it the way as the same thing all the time, people may. There's a lot of interesting things in the world. $billion video games and porn and all these fucking a million things that you could do instead of watching fighting. And if it all seems similar to you all the time, you don't have to watch them all. I think a lot of people may not have watched that show last night, and that was beautiful. It was amazing. Sometimes when we're so deep in fighting, we might get to a point where we forget how incredible it is. Not just the art and the controlled chaos and the math and the science and the physiology, but what these guys sacrifice. Gokhan Saki has dedicated his life. Now, yes, he enjoys this. This is his calling, but it's also for our entertainment. He got hurt last night. De Silva got hurt. These guys do. But it's an incredible thing. It really is. I wish I could stay longer today, but we got to talk about OSP too. OSP, to me, we'll take a couple of questions. Please ask them a little. Let me think about OSP out loud, and then let's do a few questions after. It's really fun. It's a gift for me to be able to talk about fighting the day after with a group of like-minded people. The Von Flue choke, I think we see what it is, right? If my arm is squashing me here, which you're controlling with your head and your other arm, and my shoulder and your shoulder is squashing me here, I will get blood choked, part of my own body choking one side, and you, OSP, the aggressor, blocking the other side, right? Okay, brilliant. We could do that with all kinds of stuff. If I wanted to block your neck with this, and then put this here, we could do that. I could use my coffee mug. Any way in which we can stop the blood from going to the brain, we can make you pass out. It's a bug or a feature of being a human, right? We cut off the blood and you go up. So the Von Flue choke kind of became this beautiful, Von Flue choke, not last night, but Von Flue choke that we saw him do the first time, became an example in and of itself of the beautiful thing that is martial arts. So this is retro Von Flue, not last night's Von Flue, which I'll talk about right after. So I attack you. For whatever reason, I want to take you down. I want to grab your body. I want to and my head ends up here. So over time, the martial arts develop into the point that if I can get cut off your throat, by taking your head here, using this limb to choke you, great, right? You wanted to take me down, and instead, in your efforts to take me down, I have applied some martial arts knowledge and training, some of it from this guy, and found a way to take what was an attack by you and put you to sleep with it. Badass, right? Now, this is the Von Flue is in and of itself the perfect example of what is martial arts. So now, I come in and I'm trying to take you down. My head ends up here. You, over time, people learn to use this limb, and you choke me. To choke me, you go back down on the ground and control my head. Then I end up across you and pressure this side of the neck and squish it against here, and all of a sudden, I tried to take you down, an offensive attack, which purposefully was attempted on you. You then went to choke me, your response to my attack, in an attempt to put me to sleep, and then I used your attack to actually put you to sleep. Simple, beautiful, the very description of what every single thing in martial arts is. In real life, I punch you. If you don't, my dog got scared by that. I'm getting a little worked up. That's what I love about this, right? Sorry, Pluto. So I punch you. What do? You turn your back. It's very common. It's a human response. So I take your back and try to choke you. Martial arts evolved. There was no rear naked choke until some caveman hit another caveman and that guy tried to get away and he grabbed him. The natural reaction of what you do, either to try to stop me or protect yourself, becomes a weakness if I figure out how to make it a weakness. So the von Flue choke started to be used, not only, but in modern fighting, it started to be used as a reaction to your reaction. Again, I try to take you down, you try to choke me, I make you pay for it. Last night, OSP reverse engineered it back to its original thing, which was not only in reaction to that, it's anytime I can put your arm in that position and then apply that. So whether it's top half guard or side control, one of the most powerful things, it's mandatory. Actually, that's wrong. Nothing's mandatory. The thing that I'm about to tell you, this very simple principle that you'll learn in every jiu-jitsu gym you'll ever train in, is not mandatory because one day somebody will make it wrong. And actually, there's lots of ways they already do. But I will put my hand flat on the mat and squish. So if you see, even without the mat, but imagine this is there. By pressing onto the mat, I can squeeze my shoulder towards you. So I'm on top of you, and I squeeze my shoulder. It's the shittiest thing when you're underneath somebody, because what they do is they put that there and then they squeeze you over here. Normally what I want is to turn back into this. So in this case, I'm Yushin Okami. My thing is, if the shoulder is here, I gotta let that, I wanna go this way. OSP digs his head underneath here and puts this up. He had the underhook, which is normally he would want, typically, purple belt kind of approach would be old purple belt, because now purple belts are way better than when I really trained at that level with those guys. But years back, the game changes so rapidly that I shouldn't generalize like that. That's a very improper generalization. But a basic approach would be he would keep this underhook here and apply pressure here. And what he does is he puts his head in, and Yushin goes to do that and tries to turn back into him. And all of a sudden, Yushin's arm is trapped, Yushin's shoulder is here, and he can't turn back into him. He reverse engineered the old school setup of the von Flue choke, which is how people use the von Flue choke. It became a reaction to a guillotine, but it's not only that. Anytime he can choke this and force Yushin to make a series of choices or responses to choke that, boom. It's just so fun. These are the performances and fights and martial arts moments like Gokhan Saki in that environment, having to adapt to it, brings his great weapons to it, but his weapons and understanding of them change as the environment and the rules and the threats change. Fucking amazing. And then seeing OSP go down, basically Yushin went in to get the single, OSP just drove his hips back, and Yushin tried to sit to half guard. And then, I only watched this one once, but this is what happened. Tried to sit to half guard, and OSP, and this is a really interesting adaptation that the super athlete is adding to the grappling or jiu-jitsu game or submission wrestling game, is once it can, and this has been happening for a long time. I remember mid-2000s training out in Vancouver, and a couple of high-level guys who were doing MMA, The Natural, what is his, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name. He was showing me about how, they just attack the neck. Oh, and Mark Bocek was doing this 10 years ago. Just by attacking the neck, we don't have to worry about hooks. We don't have to worry about position even. If you have to protect your neck, you will take action. Bocek and guys of that level 10, 15 years ago knew what that action was, and they would start trapping you. And so now we're seeing that come back, where the super athlete, by attacking the neck, is forcing you to respond in ways that they anticipate, and they set a trap for you. So it's just fucking killer. Nights like that, and again, my concern is I just hope that people don't start seeing it as kind of the same thing. Somewhere along there, I have that fear, is that they're not seeing just how interesting and weird and different it is. And how different each one of these fights are, and how different each one of these intersections of athletes and artists at these moments in time are. It isn't just, cool, there's two guys in the cage, that guy's number 7 and that guy's number 11. Pluto, come here. Sorry, excuse me for a moment, my dog's an idiot. Sorry. yeah, I just don't want people to be seeing it all as the same. So anyways, those were my basic thoughts. I've realized 6 or 8 months ago, when I stopped working at Fight Network, that I don't really have, Mark and I, my friend Aaron, we kind of do, but we're working a lot. We don't really have the technology yet, and to at any speed build the kind of old school visual breakdowns that I used to. And when I was watching this one, I was just like, should I just turn the camera there and try to pause it and show? And I realized that there's always good in change, and being forced to try to find language and examples and physical things, maybe drawings and stuff, has made, without being able to just show you, look at his shoulder here and put a circle around it and then do that, without being able to do that, it's forced me to dig deeper. So there's a value in it, but we'll definitely be making that happen. So, so those are my thoughts, or some basic first layer thoughts, just me being excited thoughts about Saki and about OSP. I see, Robin, any upcoming commentary or breakdown gigs for the UFC or Bellator? Thanks, man. Nothing specific. I've had conversations with the UFC. They loved the last thing that I did for them. So I suspect something's going to happen. There's a show in Winnipeg in December. I'd like to contribute something to that. Whether that be some type of analysis or something. They know that I'd like to. I'm going to be in Winnipeg doing my first ever live show. Robin, do you think it's harder for a striker to add wrestling or a wrestler to add striking? Well, what's so weird about it is mostly that doesn't happen anymore like we saw with Gokan Saki last night. What about Brian Stan's old job? They don't go and say, there is now an opening. They say, there were 20 shows that Brian did. How do we distribute those? Do we need somebody? Do we need another person? Do we give Brian, or do we give Dan or Dominic more roles? Like, they don't go, we now need to replace Brian. They go, we have 20 more shows. What do we do? And so I don't know. One day I'm going to be doing that. So if that day, I'm not super concerned at when that is, because I have so much work and so much fun stuff to do. Todd Grissom was great last night. So I didn't listen to the commentary. I usually do when it's Dan, and Todd seems good. But I really wanted to take this in without hearing other people's thoughts on it now. I'm purposefully trying not to use the same old way of seeing it, and that's no disrespect to anybody. There's just a particular way we look at fights. I'm trying to see them in different ways. So if I hear people's quality work, Dan's brilliant, if I hear his quality work, it will influence the way I see it, and I don't want that right now. I want to keep exploring seeing it differently. My belief, I was just saying before I got distracted, I'm going to do commentary at some point for them. I do commentary for lots of other shows. I will be one day, or analysis. And my belief is that the way I could contribute best is by not doing the same thing everybody else does. Now, I think I could speed up my job of getting that job if I did it like people, the same as other people do it. But I don't want to do that. I want to grow it somehow, go somewhere else with it. Anik is more of a Lineker. You're consistently telling us you'll do UFC commentary. Is that the law of attraction? I don't believe so. I believe that. I just know that I will be. I don't know. When will I be back on JRE or Big Brown? I don't know. If I'm in California, sometimes those guys invite me. And sometimes I'm in California. So I don't know next time I'm down there. I'm going to Russia in 2 or 3 days to commentate the World Wushu Championship. So it's 5 12-hour days of commentary. People ask me if I watch certain other people's shows. I mostly don't watch anything. I try not to be influenced by the stuff that's being done. I'm just trying not to be part of the same motion of discussion. And that is not in any type of detriment. Anik doesn't even do play-by-play. He just does advertisement. That's not, I disagree. I think John Anik is very, very good. I really do. And he's a really wonderful, wonderful guy. I'm doing a live breakdown show in Winnipeg, December 17th. Anyways, thanks for your questions, guys. If people are watching from not live, thank you for hanging in here and hearing me be excited about these fights last night. Those ones really got me excited. I'm excited for most fights. I see them all as special moments in time. I really, truly do. Because they are. That's not some weird evangelical view of mine. That's the truth. If somebody doesn't see that, that doesn't mean it's not the truth. It is. These are special moments in time where humans have dedicated much of their life to this moment. Nothing else matters to either of them but this at this moment. And that's what's so special about it. So anyways, I really appreciate you guys. Somebody asked if I'm reading questions. I have been reading the odd one. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate you guys sharing my stuff and helping me grow. Like I said, I'm going to Russia in 2 days, and I'm doing 12-hour days of commentating at the World Wushu Championships. It's called Sanda, or Sanshao, people call it. Kung Lee, I guess, is the most famous Sanda competitor. It is free fighting, punching, kicking, also throws, and some wrestling. So the 60 hours of deep dive into this different rule set is going to teach me a lot. And I'm going to try to come up once a day from Russia, live on YouTube. So I hope you guys will join me. Thank you very much. If you didn't watch that fight last night, that show last night, in particular, Kim, his great moment on the great Gomi forever. He gave us so much great action. And Gokhan Saki's brilliant 4.5 minutes with De Silva, who deserves a lot of the credit for that brilliance. And Formiga's submission and OSP showing you the beauty of Jiu-Jitsu and martial arts. Go watch it, because it really was wonderful. Thank you guys so much, and till next time, as I said, I'll be back from Russia, and then we'll be back. I got Water, the study of martial arts, coming up later today. Water number 3, so please watch for it. Thank you guys so much for the support. Much love. Black out.